Hey, my name is PolishLynx and we are starting Mirt, Tales of the Cold Land Chapter 1 and 2, because Chapter 1 is the paid one. Chapter 2 is free update. So we are going through both of them. Developed by Emanon Studios, published by No Choke Games. Honestly, never heard of them, but yeah, I've got the game. I believe the first chapter from some bundle. Well, and the second one obviously updated for free. Let's do it! The smoke had him choking. The music filled his skull. This place still terrified him, but tonight he needed to be here. A candle flame flickered inside the lampshade with an interlocking pattern. The reflection shimmered in her huge black sunglasses. Light brought out the sharpness of her features. There was no point in him saying anything. The snake woman always went first. She got the corner table. He could see it was littered with the tools of her trade. God only knew what kind of ghastly business she had in mind. He sat down, careful not to show her an emotion.
You're here for answers!
No, I'm here for questions, Taro said softly.
You know I've got them, but what's in it for me? Let's say you promise to do me a favor whenever I ask.
Well, what if I'm busy when you ask?
I'm sure we can negotiate.
She kissed her cup, then continued.
You all come here want to know the shape of things to come. You honestly think knowing the future would actually help? Look at me, trust me, it doesn't.
She took a pack of cards from somewhere beneath the table, emptied them briskly into her free hand and shuffled them with an ease born of long familiarity. She set the deck down in front of him. Well, if you actually knew the future, you'd be able to win in a lottery. Think about it. You know the future, you keep it to yourself, you make yourself win some huge lottery. You're set for life.
You're not asking me the questions, it's the cards. You pick three, each one is important, but you can see the bigger picture until you put them all together.
Isn't it tarot? So, cards, this one? This one? He'd reached out for the cards, but Taro cut him off so sharply he pulled his hands back as if he'd been burned.
Do not touch them! I showed them to you, understand? Never touch a deck that isn't yours!
What? Wait, I'm supposed to choose from 3 cards that you've given me? That's ridiculous. Middle one. A cat. Well, I'm PolishLynx, so Lynx is from cat's family, so makes sense. Hole. I'm recording at night. Nightlife. Makes sense. And the last one? Stabbed heart? What? Wait, this is not a freaking cat, this is a devil. This is what, a guard? And this is a dark knight. What? Okay, well... stabbed heart? I don't think anyone stabbed me in the heart. Even in the feelings kind of way, so... whatever. What do we do now? I don't know fucking Russian. Yo, I don't know Russian. Well...
So what do my cards say?
I fucking don't know. I don't know Russian.
You'll be faced with a choice that's wafer than another. Not just between persons A or B. This is between life and death, or light and darkness. How should you know which is which? You won't know one that until you have to pick one. The cards can't help with this. You have to make the choice as well as live with the aftermath. But you will encounter one person who will give you a hint. Pay close attention to be sure you know exactly when that happens.
Great.
So, did you get the answers you wanted? Remember what we discussed? One good turn deserves another, and I don't forget these things, whether or not you do. Let me explain how this works. When I finally ask you to do something for me, you will do it, whether or not you are capable of it, or if this request goes against everything you believe in.
Huh, we'll see about that. Her dramatic oration made him feel nauseated. Considering on the words was increasingly difficult. Or was the smoke clouding his mind? He nodded.
I do so love striking a bargain.
Taro gave a self-satisfied smile.
Until we meet again. Oh yeah, remind me, what was your name?
Ha ha ha! I will not tell you my name. Ho ho ho! Who was he exactly? Was that his voice, low and rasping? The name stuck for a moment on the tip of his tongue, and then he forced it out with an effort. Chapter 1: Nocturnal Animals. Anton, 28 June. Wait, so the cards make sense? If you think with connection with the cards. It was only yesterday he was still at home. How was it everything had changed completely just like that? He had a sudden urge to stay. Too late for that! Yet for some reason he felt sure he wouldn't be coming back. He shook his head, trying to banish this strange conviction. Goodbye, homeland. Goodbye, childhood memories. He'd had no money, no food, not even a place to stay. In the end he moved in with his brother and his wife. Huh. Feeling very much like an uninvited guest. Yeah, I wonder why. The feeling was clearly mutual. Then there was Detko, a friend of his brother's, a former classmate. Anton didn't know him. He'd left university looking for a big paycheck and moved up north. He'd never returned. It's a weird place, kind of an insular little town. They've got some kind of secret project going on. They're hiring, you know. Most of the details went straight over Anton's head, but he got the gist. He'd been draining his brother's finances for a long time. He ought to be moving on. They've got 3 vacancies starting this summer. We're looking for new hires. He wanted me to come up there for the summer months. Then they could get somebody else. And, well, Anton. The salary. He quoted a figure and I practically choked on my teeth. You know, I didn't graduate. Trust me, they don't care. You're sure I wouldn't be? I'm sure. Look, if you want to do this, it's pretty urgent. How urgent? The train leaves tomorrow, early in the morning. So he said yeah, his brother was always the responsible one, where Anton knew he was still a child, even at 20. But this wasn't childish, right? Moving far away from home to work. And he wanted to do it. The next morning his brother drove him to the station. The big clock read 5:15.
In the morning? Oh my god!
White pigeons were swimming in the fountain. Pigeons suck. He stood on the platform, spurs back in one hand, the other holding a bag with his food. A fast train to Vorontsov, and from there to this place called Mirt. He fell asleep on the way, and had dreamed. It was a long time since he'd actually dreamed, where he was flying, for he didn't have any wings. The wind was like someone slapping him in the face, and his eyes were streaming, but it was amazing. Anton screamed with laughter until his chest hurt. Then he woke up. What was it? His mother used to say, a flying dream means you've grown up a little. Had he grown up then? Seriously? After being asleep, everything looked strange somehow, unfamiliar. Anton ate a sandwich and drank some tea from his thermos, hoping it would help him feel normal. No luck. Whatever, he could cope with that. He'd bought a book for the trip, some paperback, a detective novel. The whole thing only took him 2 hours. Then all he had left to do was stare out of the window. Why didn't he check how long the trip would be? It will get something more. The scenery grew monotonous, the endless steppe, the ruined buildings, and so many pine trees. It was the 4th week of June, the dog days of summer. Anton burned very easily whenever he went out. He sweated like a pig. You know, in a lot of cases, the reason for that is being overweight, so maybe that's that. But here, even inside the train, it felt oddly cold, almost like late fall. The station was silent, shrouded in early morning mist. Anton stood in the doorway of the train and looked around him.
You must be Anton!
The speaker sounded familiar. And yeah.
Welcome! It's good to meet you!
Was this Mstislav?
That's not a real name.
The voice was the same, but Anton hadn't pictured him quite like this. He was tall, skinny, as sharp as a blade, with dark hair and pale skin. His cloudy grey eyes were trying to look cheery, but came across as more deep and sad. His lips were thin, his nose had plainly been broken, once upon a time. This Mstislav wasn't particularly good looking then, but he seemed a trustworthy sort.
What? I doubt that.
A clever man, probably. A book lover. Anton could see it now. He'd be the one everyone in this place looked up to. The one they trusted implicitly. Except for PolishLynx. He'd always have time for any of them, or a word of advice.
Can we get a move on? It's quite way back. Mirt is about 2 hours drive.
And I changed his voice, don't I? Whatever. There was a car waiting for them, sparkling clean, the paint job barely even scratched. He'd been a penniless student only yesterday. He'd never ever dreamt of riding a car like this. I like the car. Anton tried to smile.
To be here to scrap out the money?
Wow, what's so surprising about that, dude? I mean, it takes that amount of time for normal people, you know. Speaking from experience. Anyway. Mstislav answered brusquely. Then he looked somewhat sheepish. He opened the boot and helped Anton hoist his bag inside.
Travel glad, huh? Being there, I didn't have much with me there. When I turned up, weird. It wasn't that long ago, you know, but when I think back, it feels like a decade.
They got into the car and slammed the doors in sync. Well, seems like your radio or station, or, well, basically this area, is more advanced than mine. Anyway. Also, are you driving a car that has a similar name to older brother in Japanese? Anyway. Mstislav switched on the radio. It sounded like an old tune. Pink Floyd, The Doors, maybe. Would listen to those. Totally.
You can call me Steva, huh? Everyone else does.
Steva? What? Why? He said.
They hand out pet names pretty easy around here.
But Anton couldn't think of anything to talk about. He thought Mstislav was probably older, given his voice. After all, his brother, who was the same age, apparently looked older still. It was hard to imagine Mstislav was any more than 25. Even though he seemed fairly worn out, presumably he didn't sleep much. Huh. The other man broke the silence. Wait, older what?
Anyway, it's good to see you here. You'll pick up some real experience. I'm sure we'll finish your 4-year, right?
Anton nodded. Steve watching the rear view mirror. Wait, I freaking don't know who you are anymore.
Got any questions? Come on, ask me anything. Don't be shy.
What about work? What's it like working here?
Here with my son, he's straight right. He's a good teacher. I hope you're not a dumb boss, huh? He doesn't suffer fools gladly. Anyway, you get salary and the room, that's free. Plus, the food in the canteen is good eating. One thing, we don't really sleep at night around here. It's a kind of habit by this point. We generally doze off at daybreak, and again after midday. I'll show you your room when we get back. We'll drop in on the major. And then you can get some rest. You start work tomorrow.
When or did they no longer sleep at night? It was bizarre either way, but Anton certainly had no plans to change his usual routine. What about town, guys? My brother said you never planned on staying, but it's been years. Do you like it that much? Honestly, it's hard to say. I hated it to start with, but it's a strange place, Mirt. They welcome one person with open arms, and the next not so much. Either way, I didn't have much choice. You can't quit the contract. I had to tough it out. Wait, what? What? I wasn't told about not being able to quit the contract. What? It got better. Over time, I was, well, the people, I think. It's different when you're this deep in the backcountry, the old men run the cities. But it's the elf in charge out here. It's all students in Mirt, or the younger working class. How did you end up here? I was in university with your brother, you know, that much. I left after the third year. Never looked back. I majored in literature. Did he tell you? But when my father died, my stepmother sued me for the flood. Keep me out of the streets. At that, I had to bed down in the train stations. There was nowhere else. I could have gone, live off instant noodles, found work of sorts at least, handing out leaflets. Then I heard about this summer job in Mirt. I headed north with nothing but the clothes on my back, a couple of bread buns in my pockets, and ended up staying for 3 years. I did, whatever, anything told me to. Carrying the post, take notes, all the donkey work. I had a roof over my head, and they were feeding me for free, not like I was going to complain. Before I knew it, they'd promote me, a management position, and now the major said, my own flat, my own car, even. He looked increasingly self-conscious, but it didn't seem to stop him talking. Got no questions, come on. No, I'm fine. The trees either side of the road were higher, and more numerous. So this was a forest. Anton huddled into his coat and pressed his forehead to the window beside him to watch. It was freezing inside the car, for Steva hardly seemed to notice. He hadn't even buttoned up his jacket. Anyone to be seated back home? Steve asked all of a sudden. Anton shook his head. No, not really. I mean, we are Anton in this game, right? So no, not really. They fell silent as the journey continued. He was definitely a people person, this Steva. Anton thought, but also, paradoxically, somewhat shy. Maybe he just didn't like to impose. A good man, even so. Easy to talk to, or to get along with in general. For Anton had found it easy to reach out to people before, only to realize the feeling wasn't always mutual. He became all too familiar with the feeling of being shunned, of a close friend turning back into an acquaintance, and then a total stranger. He'd made no more friends at university. After a while, he didn't plan to make any here, either. After an hour's drive, they stopped by the roadside for a little while, then travelled on. All around them, Anton saw the St. Alpines scratching at a colorless grey sky. Nice. I wouldn't say it's colorless or grey. They never saw any signs, or even a nameplate. He'd never have found the place by himself. At last, they reached the town, and Anton felt a thrill of excitement. This place was nothing like the concrete jungles he knew. The type of place he'd been trapped for 20 years. He could still see the forest everywhere he turned. Everywhere he turned. With narrow roads, like a maze through the trees. Even where the houses waved down the earth, there were trees, pairs of tall, knowing pines. Stood bent towards each other, like two people deep in conversation. Siva turned down a side road, and Anton stared out of the window. Nice! On either side he saw houses, all of them very similar. Not too big, modest and neat, colorful in bright, delicate hues. There wasn't a skyscraper inside, or any kind of building that suggests the owner had a great deal of money and very little taste. I agree with that. Over there! Zero was pointing at a shabby-looking building towards the end of the street. That's your office. Your room is this way, in the campus. That's what we call it, where the new people stay. The campus was 4 wooden houses, 2-story buildings, longer than they were tall. Well, I would say it's neither of them, too, but okay. Three of them had been built much the same, still looking new and sturdy, with several big windows on the front, and the rest were... Wow, ow, my ankle. God damn it, I can't put right leg, only left leg. Anyway, the rest where one might relax. The fourth house settled way apart. This one was new too, but a little crooked. Anton thought, as if it had been set quite right. No, he decided, it was straight, but his eyes kept telling him the place had been left unfinished. Steve followed his gaze. That's where I put you. Number 1. It's a good house, honestly, it's got a lot of spirit. That sounds a bit right, Anton thought. It wasn't dead, this place, but it wasn't entirely soulless. Either, somehow it made him think of a fallen tree overrun with a horde of bugs. Siva showed him inside, and headed for the first floor. Bedrooms are upstairs. Common rooms are down here. Siva told him as they walked down the main corridor. Not that common, really, if you ask me. Anyway, your room is your bit of personal space. You share the kitchen and the bathroom. That's the same for every 4 people. So where are you? Over in the third house, number 8. Drop in if you feel like it. If not, I'll see you at lunch. That's 2:30 or so. The county is not that far off. Ask the neighbors. They'll show you where to go. Siva handed over the key, then left. He seemed as if he had places to be. Ant opened the door, looked round, then stepped over and laid his back on the bed. The room was small, but it was clean and newly done up. There was a window, a lamp in the ceiling, and a few items of furniture. As well as the bed, he saw the cabinet, desk, chair. The walls and ceiling were white. Now where am I? I think they're kinda bluish. But okay, but this was nothing like a hospital. If anything, it felt warm and comfortable. He made the bed and stored his belongings in the cabinet. It started to feel as if there really was his room. He heard a noise from the common rooms. Was that the neighbors? He wanted to say hello, but couldn't quite muster the courage. Would they think he was rude or too forward? He willed himself to go downstairs. Good afternoon. There were 2 of them. One man in overcoat sitting at a table and another standing, leaning against the back of the chair. Afternoon. The first man seated had spoken badly, but he studied Anton with a certain degree of caution. The second, he was tanned with black hair, merely gave him a nod. You just arrived, correct? The first man said, and continued talking without waiting for an answer. Sit down! And did as he was told. It's Sasha. A hand was offered across the table. Anton took it carefully. This man had a very firm grip, and gave them his name. Great, said the second man. He did not volunteer to shake hands. Some tea, maybe? Sasha asked. He pushed back his chair and stood up from the table. He looked imposing, tall and broad-chested, a real bogatier. Straight out of the old paintings, he even had the footwear, a pair of heavy ski boots. Wait, ski boots? Why would you freaking walk? What? Okay, that's ridiculous. You are walking in that on daily basis? How? Why? Mostly why? Sounds good. Green answered as if for all 3 of them. It's cold enough. My fingers are frozen solid. Came up from the south, right? How was it? He stared at Natalie with wide brown eyes. Warm? It's summer. I heard you don't get summer here. Nah, well, it depends. A cup of herbal tea appeared from around him. Anton usually took black, but he said nothing. The heat through the cup still warmed his hands. His housemates showed him to the canteen. The smell of soup and bread buns wafted across the campus, luring the inhabitants in much the same way honey tempted bees and wasps to settle. Anton counted perhaps 50 people. That wasn't so bad. Not too many of them were young ladies, though. Still, at least he could find Stiva in the crowd easily enough. Settling in, Stiva asked as they drew closer. He looked sad. Anton thought, even though he's smiling. Yeah, everything's fine. The crowd headed for the canteen, moving like a school of fish. This was where Anton met him for the first time. Marquis, they called him in the campus, or Mark Vladislavovich. Everywhere else in Mirt. He seemed to be around 25. Apparently like every freaking character. A tall man, for he didn't reach Stiva's cave. Thin and flexible. Almost serpentine, he had his long fair hair tied up in a ponytail. There was a sense of something wrong about him. It's his eyes. Anton decided. His eyes. He met the older man's gaze head-on immediately wished he hadn't. A demon stared back at him. Anton quailed, unable to stand another moment. Look at something else, he told himself. His face. The man's skin was terribly pale. Was he a demon then? A vampire, perhaps, Anton thought. Good afternoon, Mark. This is Anton, our new bookkeeper. Stiva added helpfully. Welcome to the back country, Anton, Marquis said in an utterly humorless voice. This was the Lord of the Manor, Anton realized. The man who spoke with the word of God Almighty. Huh. Evening fell from the sky like a woman's discarded velvet glove. Stiva had been waiting. He went out onto the terrace and lit a cigarette. He watched in silence as the tables were arranged in the courtyard down below. He couldn't stop thinking about it. Earlier in the day, he'd almost quarreled with Marquis. That was careless. They were still on good terms, but how long could that last? What new idea would come to the man's sick head tomorrow? And there was the meeting he'd set up for tonight. Another rendezvous with someone he saw all the time, during the day, in the canteen, on the streets, and often these evening parties in the camp. And yet they could talk only at night alone. Stiva, you coming? Sasha called from down among the crowd. People scurried like ants from their houses to tables and back, carrying food, plates and bottles. I'm taking a walk, man. He threw his cigarette down from the terrace. Who? Should be back in about an hour. He walked away from the campus, heading towards the Moon Cafe. His seat brought him to First Street. He felt a slight anxiety. He saw the familiar signboard, 4 white letters on a black background, for he couldn't make them out in the gloom. He glanced at both sides of the street. There was no one around. Carefully he pushed the door open. Wait, we are back at this place? The door rang. Stiva was enveloped in a wave of dust and smoke. He walked inside, trying to watch where he put his feet. A dense fog spread over the floor. It was the same here every time he visited. He saw the vague outlines of tables, and the countertop along the bar smelled the spicy aroma of herbal tea, while music like a mantra floated through the rarefied air. Whoa, I'm yawning like crazy. I guess you can tell that I'm after the long shift at work. Anyway, did I just skip text? Yeah, he was dizzy almost at once, but it was a pleasant dizziness, as if he drank a good wine. An old man from the neighborhood lay slumped over the nearest table, sucking a hookah, letting smoke out through his nose. Stefan knew which table was hers. He could have found it with his eyes shut through muscle memory alone. The last one over in the corner. No one else dared to sit there. They'd heard the table was cursed. Tara wasn't afraid of curses, especially not when she'd cast them herself. It was so dark it seemed at first, as if the table was empty. But soon Steva could pick out the outline of her face and the fall of her hair.
You're on time, as always. Right down to the minute,
she said softly. Was she smiling, or was that just his imagination? He couldn't see. It's pretty, dark, Steva said simply.
Sorry, I put them out. I didn't want any light. Feel free to put them back on.
He reached into his pocket for a lighter and set a flame to the eastern mosaic lamp that stood on each table. A dim warm glow brought Tara's face out of the darkness. She looked pale and tired, like a mask made from wax framed by her black hair. She had her hair cut short, with bangs straight down to her eyelashes. It was so sleek it sparkled tiny points of light like stars in the night sky in the glow from the lamp. Perched on her nose, she wore a pair of glasses with opaque black lenses, and two pendants hung around her neck on linen threads. She thrust the note into his hand as she passed him at dinner, just a brief. The One Café, 2330, written on a yellow paper napkin. He knew he'd be there. So, what happened?
I'm not really sure.
She closed her eyes, warily.
So something I haven't told Mark yet. Yeah, I'll tell him tomorrow morning.
Why tell me?
Because I saw the new arrival.
Anton?
I don't know, but you've only got the one, right?
There is another one due tomorrow. Still, what did you see?
It was a bird. Wounded. Or that may be. There was a lot of blood. I went to her, picked her up, at her clothes, cradled her in my arms and asked, "What is to you?" She told me. "The new arrival!" I haven't had a vision in a long time.
So you think the bird was me?
It wasn't you, I'm sure of that. Much. But you have to take a closer look at these two. The new arrivals. You need to find out what's wrong with them. One of them, before the vision comes to pass.
Understood. He folded his arms on the table and stared at his fingertips. Tara's hands were very close, small and pale.
In a hurry? Or do you have time for a coffee?
Where would I be going in a hurry? He forced himself to smile. The waiters brought them 2 cups, strong coffee for Steva and a herbal tea for Taro. He never knew what to say when they ended up like this. Was he supposed to start making small talk about random nonsense, life in the campus, and all the stupid jokes people told every day? Where would he begin with her watching him? And Tara was never embarrassed if he stayed quiet. She was one of those people who loved company but could be silent for hours just sharing a table or room with someone. Sounds like me. There is another poetry evening at the campus tomorrow.
I'll be there.
She nodded. He knew she'd be there, not the way she was now, but someone altogether more mundane, wearing that mocking smile in tight jeans and red lipstick. Once per time he'd fallen for her, looking like that. But then he saw another side of her, the one currently sitting across the room from him. Actually across from him. Tired, morose, anxious, and this star seemed to be the real one. Far more genuine, and the other just a mask that hid her true face. The real Taro came out only when the two of them were alone, when they sat like this in the Moon Cafe, in an abandoned cinema, or out on the beach, and once in camp. In the small hours, when everyone else had gone to bed, they drank wine together at the empty tables and waited for the dawn. On that dreamlike morning, Taro had told Steva something that still made his hair stand on end at the mere memory of it. And then a month later it happened, and Steva knew 2 things for certain. Firstly, at the end of July there was a good chance something terrible would happen in Mirt. And secondly, the predictions Taro made came true. There was another Taro who everyone knew, but who was utterly distant from Steva as if she came from another world. She always followed Mark around. Mark valued her. It seemed bad, like a man might value an expensive watch. When she was in camp, she drank, read her daring poems, and couldn't stop picking arguments with people. At first Eva had assumed she was flirting, but whichever was the real Taro, none of them loved him.
Everything's up in the air today, and it's cold,
Taro said, gazing into her cup.
I still like the cold. It clears my head. Not me. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to know what it means. Is it happening again? Just like 2 years ago? Everything in noise? Everything could be built up all this time? And then what?
He shrugged. It was a rhetorical question. You should expect him to contribute.
Mark should listen at least. This time he'll do what he's told. Last time I shouted. I roared like a damn bear. I hammered on his door and he didn't want to know. All that got him was 4 new graves in the cemetery.
Sue looked away, unsettled by the anger in her voice.
Don't do that, please! Please, listen to me. How did he look? The arrival.
Just ordinary, like a local guy. The same as me 3 years ago. I didn't see anything strange, but what do I know? I think it's better be of talking to him.
His king comes today.
Where else would he be?
Then let's go!
She stood up so fast the lamp on the table shook.
You know what?
Let's go there in the next episode. For now, hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you tomorrow as well.
Bye bye.